Welcome back to Nothing Fancy Canning. Here's my 100 pounds of sugar. So I just wanted to kind of do a follow-up. I wanted to show you that I have all of them vacuum packed. It did take me about an hour. A couple troubleshooting things. Okay, I had 4 jars, these 4 jars that would not, no matter what flat I put on them, seal in the vacuum sealer. I've come to find out, and I think I had discovered this before and just kind of maybe forgot, but on this jar, and they're all different brands, so I have Atlas, I have a Ball, I've had some Kerr that have not sealed. And what I have found is these jars, whenever they were made, I'm not good at dating or anything like that. I use any jar available. I'll use spaghetti jars. It don't matter to me. Have a really wide lip right here at the headspace line. It's very, very deep. Okay, I find that this attachment going on will not go down far enough to allow it to suction on. So I have 4 jars that I had do that this time, and those were the 4 jars. So I just pour them on out. I go into my dry pantry and wipe out, dust off and wipe out a clean dry jar. Again, I want to make sure they're completely dry. So I could just go out and get some more jars out of my dry jar pantry, wipe them out, make sure they're dusted, that kind of thing, and just went ahead and recanned them. And as you can see on these, that lip there, I can barely catch my fingernail, and my fingernail isn't even very long on it. But these jars have a really wide, you can see my whole finger sits on there. So if you have jars like that, they're probably not going to seal no matter what, because this attachment has to go down past that blue rubber seal, and it just doesn't go down far enough. So that is something I discovered probably for a second time tonight, just had forgotten since I did it last, that those are the type of jars that will not seal with a vacuum sealer. All right, I also wanted to show you this one here. This was one of my very first half gallons that I did. It is a reused lid. Okay, it vacuum sealed, did perfect. But as I was doing all these other ones, I hear a pop. This came unsealed. So what I'm going to do is I resealed it. I let all of my jars sit at least 24 hours on my counter where I can look at every one and test them before they go out into my canning cupboard, my canning pantry. So that if any of these, especially used ones, pop just because they're weak or whatever, I can reseal it with a new lid or maybe even pick a different jar. This jar, I couldn't get to seal at all, and again, because I think it has a really wide band on it. So I have some of these flat, full lids that I picked up when there's the shortage on the flats. So this is just one of the full lids. It has a rubber seal. I've canned with it. Again, this is a reused one. These make great jar sealers after you've opened something. I don't recan with them. I know I mentioned that the last time. I don't recan with them, but I'm going to put this in my pantry in the house, and I'm going to use it first because it isn't vacuum sealed for storage. But I didn't want to dump out a whole half gallon of sugar and put it into other jars, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to put on one of these used full caps that I've canned something else with, and I'm just going to put that into my house pantry. So again, I think it was this lip here because it's an older jar, I believe. I really don't know. I'm not good at dating them or anything like that. It is a blue jar. I like to use any jar. I'm going to put something in it. I'll find a way to use it. So it's just going to go in my house pantry. When this is empty, it'll get washed up and probably something else. It might get pasta in it, something like that, and I'll just keep reusing this used jar. I did want to show you on the flats, I marked all my brand new flats, so the ones that are not reused, okay, these are brand new ones, have never been heat sealed. I marked them with an N. I use a permanent marker, any color, just a small N, telling me that that is a new flat. So I will reuse this flat once I open this jar of sugar for regular heat canning. Okay, so pressure canning or water bath, because it is a new seal. I've not damaged that rubber at all inside of there with heat. So I do reuse the new flats that I put on my dry canning. So don't think I'm kind of wasting by storing in a jar, because flats right now are, I say they're as good as gold. Okay, people want them. They're going very expensive right now because a lot of people are home canning. And just like this, 100 pounds of sugar, it takes a lot of flats. So best thing I can tell you, save your old ones. Use that special opener to open them up so that you can reuse as many as you can. I did have to throw one away that had a tiny dimple in the side. Didn't want a vacuum seal. No problem. Just threw it away. Put on a new one. Mark them new. Reuse them with any type of canning. Okay, so there's my little hints. Again, I'm going to watch this little guy. Right now he's sealed, but within the hour he could pop again. And that's okay. I'm just going to put a new flat on and reseal him, or switch out this jar to some new dry regular jars. Okay, these four, they're going to go back in my hot canning jar pantry, and they will be used for water bath or pressure canning here in the next week. I have tomatoes to do. I have apples to do yet. So I am going to use them. It's not that there's something wrong with the jar. The edge is perfectly fine. It's just the vacuum sealer will not go on there. I am going to do some dry canning of some flour I have here. I have some donut mix I'm going to put away. So I'm going to do some oven canning of flour, which I have another video on. So I will probably use them with that because they'll be fine, because I'm going to end up putting a ring on top and they will be heat sealed. So I will reuse these for something else. I've only had a jar or two where I've had to actually write on the jar that nothing will seal, so no heat seal, no vacuum seal. I just use a regular lid of some sort on it and just put it in my pantry in the house for pastas, rices, anything that I might open that I don't use all of it. I had some popcorn laying here I put into a jar that just isn't good for my canning purposes anymore. So I'll use a jar, any kind, for any reason. So here we go. I'm going to finish up. This is it. I'm going to switch over to my wide mouth and I'm going to jar up these. And that will be my 100 pounds of sugar. The one little thing when I walked over here, you see this little blue ring? Expect that to come out with just about every jar you seal. It does come out and then it just gets popped right back in. It's just the way it's made. It's the vacuum that's on it. When you pull that off, the flats actually lift that blue out of that plastic base, and that's fine. Put it back in. Go on to the next jar. So those are my little FYIs on the vacuum sealing of my 100 pounds of sugar. Thanks a lot for viewing.